are many facets to this complaint and to the answer, so I'm going to try to simplify it so we can move along with what you're really looking for, Mr. Garcia. According to your complaint, you and the defendant met, fell in love, and you bought a house. And the defendant moved into the house with her 2 children. You have 2 boys?
Mm-hmm. Ages 6 years old, 2 boys, twins.
And you lived there for a short time in the house together.
Yeah, I had one house, and I purchased a brand new home in February.
But you lived in this house together for a short time. You came home from work one day and you found that she was gone with the children and all the things in the house that you had purchased.
90% of the things were gone.
And then you say that you were served with a temporary restraining order that Ms. Hankey had secured against you.
That's correct.
You were forced to hire a lawyer to defend that case, and that case was ultimately dropped.
Right.
So you are also suing for your attorney's fees.
That's right.
How long did you live in the house together?
Well, like I said, we met in June. She moved in with me with her 2 boys about middle of August.
This engagement ring, you gave her an engagement ring that you're also
Yes.
suing for. What kind of ring was this?
It was a 1-carat engagement ring.
You have it with you? That's that little box? Mm-hmm. Can I see it, please? Always like to look at engagement rings. I never got one.
You can have this one.
Go back.
Well, it's a lovely ring, so I assume you were serious.
Yes, I was.
Miss Hankey, I'm turning to you at this point because he says that you left without a word. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I tried to warn him 2 nights earlier, at which point he threatened me and told me he wasn't going to let me go, wasn't going to let me leave after a series of problems.
Tell me about the conversation that you had 2 nights before you left.
Before I left, it was on a Wednesday night, and I had told him we were having a lot of problems. We have had fights and problems building up to this point. A few days earlier,
fights.
Verbal fights and threats, yes. A few days earlier, he had used adult words for 2 minor children. I'd rather not use those in courtroom. Okay, it's in my statement. He had called a couple little girls a name that was not appropriate. That was like one of the final straws. We had gotten into a fight. I told him he was not allowed to use those kind of words on children. We'd gotten into a fight because it had to do with what he figured his rights were, what I owed him in behind closed doors and everything else. And we would fight and fought over it. And finally I said, we need some time away. I need time off. I think, we really need to think about putting an end to this relationship or taking some time off, getting some help. We need to do something else. At which point he told me, I won't let you leave me. You can't leave me. You're going to be my wife and I love you and I would never do anything to hurt you. And at which point I explained to him and asked him what I had ever done to hurt him. I was not the one that had brought my ex-boyfriends into the house. I was not the one who had lied. I was not the one who had, over a series of the fights.
Well, your
where he had
in the house, though?
For the sake of my sons, my ex-husband has come into my house, picked my boys up. He's even borrowed my truck because he's a truck driver and he does not have a vehicle where he could drive. Okay. He has, anyway, so I told him at that point, what I asked him what I'd ever done to hurt him. I had never lied to him, never cheated, I've never gone out. I gave up the things that aggravated him. My personal hobbies of dancing and stuff I'd given up because that aggravated him. We left it at that because after he had got so irate and told me he wasn't going to let me leave, I started getting scared. I just said, fine, whatever. And I just walked away, cooled off, went and sat out on the couch, at which point he turned off my alarm clocks. The next morning, I did not get up for work because my alarm clocks were turned off, or he turned them off that morning. I don't know when he turned them off. I didn't see him do it. Turned off my alarm clocks. I did not get up for work, at which time, and at my job, if you don't call in, you're fired. That's considered self-termination. So I thought I didn't have a job. At which point I told him, I haven't got a job. He was happy about this. He liked the idea that I couldn't leave him, that I had no way out. I had no way of supporting my 2 children without a job. And he knew that. He bragged about it to a friend of mine. Told her, I got my baby fired. He was happy about it. I really do believe he was happy. He had me trapped. He stayed home from work on Thursday, the next day. He stayed home and just kind of sat around. And what he was doing, I don't know. Friday, he came home. He went to work Friday. He came home on Friday night, still thinking I did not have a job. Went through all the cupboards. For what reason, other than I felt like he was searching the cupboards to see if anything had been misplaced, anything had been changed, anything had been packed, because I really do believe he kind of knew I would leave him. And then on Saturday, when he went to work, I said goodbye, have a nice day.
मेरी आपने पिछली वीडियो देखी होगी, मुझे लगता है आपको पसंद आई है. अगर पसंद आई है तो हमारे चैनल को ज़रूर सब्सक्राइब कीजिए عثمان غازی ایک بہادر سپاہی کی کہانی ہے۔ سلطنت عثمانیہ کے ابتدائی دور میں جب ارطغرل غازی کی بہادری کے چرچے ہر طرف تھے، ایک نوجوان سپاہی اپنی شجاعت اور وفاداری کی وجہ سے مشہور ہو رہا تھا۔ تو اس نوجوان کا نام عثمان تھا جو ارطغرل غازی کا بیٹا تھا۔ وہ نہ صرف ایک بہادر جنگجو تھا بلکہ ایک عظیم حکمران بننے کا خواب بھی دیکھتا تھا۔ ابتدائی آزمائش۔ ایک دن قبیلے کے جاسوس نے اطلاع دی کہ بازنطینی افواج قبیلے کی طرف ایک بڑی سازش تیار کر رہی ہیں۔ ارطغرل غازی نے عثمان کو حکم دیا کہ وہ اس خطرے کا مقابلہ کرنے کے لیے اپنے کچھ بہترین سپاہیوں کے ساتھ روانہ ہو۔ عثمان جو ہمیشہ اپنے والد کے نقش قدم پر چلنے کو تیار تھا، فوراً روانہ ہوا۔ عثمان اور اس کے ساتھی دشمن کے علاقے میں پہنچے اور پتہ چلا کہ ایک غدار ترک سردار بازنطینیوں کے ساتھ مل کر قبیلے پر حملہ کرنے کی تیاری کر رہا تھا۔ عثمان نے نہایت ہی ہوشیاری سے ایک منصوبہ بنایا۔ اس نے رات کے اندھیرے میں اپنے جانباز سپاہیوں کے ساتھ دشمن کے کیمپ پر حملہ کر دیا۔ ایک زبردست جنگ ہوئی جس میں عثمان نے اپنی بہادری اور ذہنیت دشمن کو شکست دے دی۔ سلطنت عثمانیہ کی بنیاد۔ اس جیت کے بعد عثمان کا وقار قبیلے میں اور بھی بڑھ گیا۔ کچھ ہی سالوں میں ارطغرل غازی کے بعد عثمان قبیلے کا سردار بن گیا۔ اس نے نہ صرف اپنے قبیلے کی حفاظت کی بلکہ اس پاس کے علاقے بھی فتح کر کے ایک نئی سلطنت کی بنیاد رکھی جو بعد میں سلطنت عثمانیہ کے نام سے مشہور ہوئی۔ عثمان نے ہمیشہ عدل و انصاف کو اپنا اصول بنایا اور مظلوموں کی مدد کی۔ وہ ایک سچے غازی اور عظیم رہنما بن کر پھرتے تھے۔ اس کی بہادری، حکمت اور قیادت کی وجہ سے سلطنت عثمانیہ کئی صدیوں تک قائم رہی اور دنیا کی سب سے بڑی اسلامی سلطنتوں پر شمار ہے۔ نتیجہ: اس جیت کے بعد عثمان کا وقار قبیلے میں اور بھی بڑھ گیا۔ کچھ ہی سالوں میں ارطغرل غازی کے بعد عثمان قبیلے کا سردار بن گیا۔ علاقے میں کی حفاظت کی بلکہ آس پاس کے علاقوں کو بھی فتح کی۔ ایک نئی سلطنت کا بنیاد رکھتے ہی جو بعد سلطنت عثمانیہ کے نام سے مشہور ہو گئی۔ عثمان کی کہانی ہمیں سکھاتی ہے کہ اگر نیت خاص اور ایمان محفوظ ہو، خود بلند ہو تو ناممکن کو بھی ممکن بنایا جا سکتا ہے۔ ہم تلواروں سے نہیں اپنے انصاف سے حکومت کریں گے۔ عثمان غازی۔ تو آج کی یہ ہماری چھوٹی سی شارٹ ویڈیو آپ کو پسند آئی ہوگی۔ اگر پسند آئی تو ہمارے چینل کو ضرور سبسکرائب کیجیے۔ دعاؤں میں یاد رکھنا۔ اللہ حافظ۔ ٹن ٹن ٹن۔